Hello, folks. How are you? That's not the Grinch's voice, Johnny. What are you doing? I'm sorry, folks. I couldn't help it. Today we're going to carve the Grinch, right? It's getting closer to Christmas, and the closer you get to Christmas, the more you're going to need Christmas ornaments or gifts, even. And we're going to carve a couple different varieties of the Grinch. I did one with a cigar because I am what I am. And then you don't do a cigar, though. You can paint it as a candy cane, or you can just do one without. And I think they all just turned out fantastic with the painting and all. We're going to have a separate video for painting, so that'll be uploaded after this, and one for carving. We're going to do the carving right now, so I'm going to flip the camera around, and we'll take a look at the hands. We'll jump right into it. To carve this guy, we are going to be using a 1.5-inch square block. So 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches, cut on the corner, and they are 4 inches long right there. Okay? What do I mean by cut in the corner? I mean cut diagonally. You can do that with a hacksaw. You can do that with a bandsaw. You can just take a chisel, put it right there, hit it with a hammer, and split it right down the middle if you want to. However you do it, you can get some quarter cut stuff. The first time I did one following a Doug Linker video, it was all rough on the back because it was split, right? Because I split it with a chisel. And that works just fine. You just take a chisel, put it at the top, and hammer it. You can do that if you don't have a saw. So quarter cut, and that's going to allow us to get 2 ornaments out of one carving, out of one block. Now I'm going to use this as knife only. So I'm going to be using this this Helvy knife I've got. It's a rough out knife. And I'm also going to be using a detail knife. I like using a detail knife sometimes for some parts. You don't have to. You can just use the one knife if you want to and just choke up on the blade a little bit like so. That works just fine too. I prefer having a detail knife to use though. I'm also going to show you some things you can do to make it easier with a V-tool. So you don't have to have the V-tool, but I'm going to show you what you can do with a V-tool to make things a little bit easier. And I'm going to show you what you can do with a regular U-gouge to add some detail at the end of the project if you want to, but you don't have to because the guys look pretty well without that detail too. So I'll show you when we get to that point. Now, what we're going to do to start is we're going to come up about 9/16 or a ½ inch here on the side, and then we're going to draw a line straight in like so to the corner. Okay, that's going to be the bottom of his chin. Now I'm going to turn it sideways. I want to copy that line from this side to this side, the same angle, just reversed. So I come in the corner, and I'm looking at that back line here to see where it lines up to here. It lines up right about there, looking at it, visualizing it. And then I just connect right there between those two spots. And did that come out even? Yeah, it did. Now I'm going to take one of those carvings I finished up already to transfer this line, and I'll show you the measurement here momentarily. That way I'm roughly the same. So that top edge of his head, that is 1 5/8 inches up. So about 1 5/8 inches up is the top left side of his head. Here's the top right side of his head. Or like so. And then we're going to put that massive hat band on there, coming across like that. Bring the hat band up a bit. Like so. That being relatively even? That is being relatively even, yeah. And then how are we going to have that hat flop, right? We're going to put that big ball for that Santa hat right there. We're going to have this thing come up over here. And of course, he's going to come down to that hat like so. And then like so. Pretty simple. Okay? Nothing crazy here. Very simple. So, like I said, rough out knife for the win to start with. And let's start by taking this sharp edge off the corner. Okay? This is corner cut. So that edge right here is really sharp, and that can hurt your hands. Not really hurt your hands. It can be annoying to hold a carving firmly when it's got a sharp edge being pushed in your hand. That bothers me. I'd rather avoid that. So you don't have to avoid that. You can just go ahead and live with it if you'd like to. To start with, I am just going to be rounding off the front of the carving a little bit, getting rid of that hard edge right up front as well. I'm not taking off a whole lot, maybe about 1/8 of an inch off the front of it. Right there, it's digging into the wood. So remember your wood grain, right? You don't want to have it dig in too far. I'm going to turn the carving around and just come the opposite direction until I get that off there. There we go. Always pay attention to your wood direction. Okay. Now I'm going to start blocking this in a little bit, right? I'm going to take off like this section here can be removed. So we need to remove all of this up here. Okay. All of this over here, 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 and here. And so that's our first goal. A lot of stuff to remove. So starting here on this side of the face, let's start here. I'm going to come in right like so. And I take a V notch out there. That starts that corner on the top of the head. I'm going to do the same thing right behind that ball and that cap. Okay, and then I'm going to start taking the stuff out right to there. So I can carve up like so. And then I can bring that line in farther. Chipping it out like so. And bring that hat brim in. Not hat brim, that hat band in like so. Just chip, chip. And now I'm going to straighten that out. And carve down to it like so. So I've got to start there. Now obviously I'm going to put another notch in up here past that hat as we're curving that ball around, right? Do the same thing up here. I can start taking some off. Take some off there. See, I'm just starting to curve around that big ball there. And just taking off little bits of wood, right? We're going to curve this top up here, the end of the side and out the top, up to that point on Santa's cap, like so. Now where that ball is, the hat's going to be flopped down to it and then come out. So I'm going to do a little V cut right here. I'm going to come down, I'm going to rock the knife in. I don't want to push too hard because I'm going into the grain, right? The wood grain is vertical here. So if I push too hard, it will slice that thing right off. And if I lose control of the knife, it'll slice into me. So I put the knife up here and then I rock gently to push it back in, not pushing real hard, just rock gently. And you'll get the depth you need just by rocking like that. And it'll be safe. And then I come in on the side and I use that left thumb to do that push cut right into it until I hear that snap. Pull it right out. Okay. Now I can work on smoothing this corner here out. That topmost corner like so. Like that right there. So that's what we got so far. Okay. We blocked all that stuff out. I'll start blocking out this other side because we've got a lot to remove over here. All up in here and all up into that. All that's getting removed. Easy way to start is just to start slicing on this. I mean, you start right here at the bottom, the edge of the face right there, and just work our way up. And we can put all our little divots and corners in as we start to get that gone. Right? So that's pretty close. See what I did there is nice sweeping cuts all the way up there. We still need to put a divot in here for the hat band where the hat band meets the face, and then here for where the hat comes up. We can bring that to more of a point, hit the top, like so. Now I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to do a rocking action. That knife right there. I'm not pushing very hard. And you can see I got a lot of depth just by rocking a little bit like that, right? Keep in mind, you don't want to press too hard because you want to lose control of the knife because that's going right between the wood grain. So it's really easy to get it in there, okay? Now I'm going to come up from the side and try to meet that same point. You hear that click? That's where it met. And we got that carved right like so. So we got it shaped out pretty rough, but pretty well so far. Now this hat is really thick at this point, okay? And we need to take off all of these bandsaw cuts right there and there, all those saw marks, because those are not going to take paint and stain as well as a section that has been cleaned up with a knife. That smooth like glass section of wood right here where the knife came through is just fantastic for paint and all that stuff, and it'll keep an even texture. But this bandsaw section where the marks are from the saw, that does not keep even texture when you're painting or when you're staining. And I never know which video of mine is the first one someone watches, so I try to mention that in every video I do. Make sure you get all of your bandsaw marks off. If you don't, you'll start to finish your carving and be like, oh my gosh, why does this look terrible? What is going on here? That's why. So now I'm just taking some off the top here. I'm being gentle, and I'm trying to slope this curve here on the top of the hat and like so, right? Like a rounded section of the hat, okay? So coming down from the hat band and just bring that in. And you can see how deep we've gotten in there now. And it's just rounded off. Just like so, right? As we get up to the top, we're going to start bringing that in at a more sheer angle. About halfway up, I'm going to work on increasing that angle. Okay? And I'm going to come to the side here, and I'm going to work on bringing that angle in as well. And then the other side. We want to meet it up in the middle. You don't want it coming to too sharp a point. But it needs to be close enough. Like that's probably close enough. And right there, I'm going to take that section and just clean it up with that knife like so. So that's pretty good for the top of the hat. Now, for this Santa cap for the Grinch, right? He's often depicted as having these flowing lines in that cap. To do that, I'm just going to curve in and out here. Okay, in and then curving like this right here, right? Swooping motions to get this kind of swooping look in there. Okay, I'll give that cartoony, Grinchy hat look like so, which I think will look fantastic. Now we need to redraw our hat band because we've lost it cleaning all this stuff up. So we're going to come right across like so. That's about where our hat band is going to be. And I'm going to do push cuts all along there. We're going into the wood grain, not between it right now. So we don't have to be as frightful of how hard we push, but you don't want to be pushing crazy hard even then. A lot of that rocking action, well, you put that line in real easy. I'm going to flip it around and I'm going to carve right up to it. You hear that snap when it hits. It's nice. It's a satisfying sound, I think. And depending on where you're carving to, if it slides in between the wood grain, like right there it did, it doesn't make that snap sound. It does from that direction, doesn't it? Okay, so there's the top of the hat band. And we still have our line from the bottom of the hat band, so we can go ahead and start trying to mark that in right now as well. Rocking that knife in on this side, moving it up to the middle, rock it in there, then bring it to the other side, and rock it in right there as well. That gives that line all the way across. Carve it right up to it. Maintain control of your knife. Where you don't want to carve in a manner that doesn't keep control of that knife. That's how people get cut. That's how people get hurt. Be mindful of your knife. Mindful of where the blade is, so you know where you're cutting and where your knife is going to end up. Keep your fingers out from behind the blade and whatnot. Okay, so we've got our hat band roughed in a little bit, and yeah, that's looking pretty good. Let's take these bottom corners off here, the bottom of our face, and we're going to have this mostly shaped in then. So this is just straight cuts, a little bit at a time until you get that. Now I'm going at an angle here, okay? So it's not straight in. It's a little bit farther out at the bottom than it is at the top. You can see that right here, right? There's that light. Let me adjust the light here. So yeah, I'm coming in at an angle like so, okay? So the knife is not coming straight in. It's angled up a little bit as I do that. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And you can see the angle like right here. About like this is what I'm doing, okay? That's the wrong angle. There's the angle right here, like that. And that will allow a good look for a chin, you know? For his chinny chin chin. We need to bring that over more to line that up with the bottom. That's pretty good. Now for that bottom, I'm going to round this off a bit. The goal here too is to make a simple carving that everyone can follow to make their own Grinch. I don't want it to be too complicated. We can definitely get complicated with the Grinch. With any character, with anything you're carving, you can get real complicated. The goal here is to not be complicated, to not do too much, because I want this to be a good beginner level carving as well. I want it to be something that anyone can do. So that's the goal here. If you're looking for something complicated for a Grinch, check back later. I might do another one that's more complicated. All right, so we got a good face structure going right now. This is going to be pretty simple to finish off, but we got all those saw marks here on the left and right side along with the hat band a little bit. So we want to get rid of those before we get too far, that we can draw our face on and not have any issues with getting the rest of it carved. So I'm going to go ahead and start carving off all of those saw marks real fast. And I'm trying to keep the plane of this nice and flat. I don't want the carving to get too much shape in the face right yet. I just want to get those saw marks off because we're not doing too much to shape the face. We're going for the Grinch from the 1970s cartoon, the original one. We're not going for the live action Grinch here. The cartoon version is a bit more iconic and easy to grasp for an ornament like this. He's easily recognizable with those lips of his, that curl of his mouth, and those eyebrows and those eyes. The yellow eyes, man, those are recognizable, right? Take your time getting those saw marks off. Rotate the carving as you need to find the right angle. There we go. Coming down from this direction is difficult because it's trying to bite into the wood too much. But there we go. Okay. The saw marks are off the face. Now, for his hat band, I'm going to use my detail knife here. And I'm going to take those corners off on each side here, okay, of the hat band. I'm going to come in from the edge here and just start to carve that off right along the front and then right through here. The added bonus here is I take off saw marks from the hat band by doing that. I'm going to do that anyway, so I might as well do it now. Same thing on this side. Taking off that sharp corner as I bring it around. Like that. And now I'm just going to be cleaning that up a little bit right here, right where the hat meets the hat band, making sure those lines are looking good. Increase the angle of that spot where they meet if you need to. And then round it off wherever you need to, if it's too sheer. That looks a lot better right there. Oh, I'm dropping it. All right, so we have done pretty well at making a general rough shape, okay? Now the face is still kind of blocky. The hat's looking pretty good. We need to finish out that ball, and then we need to put a line right here for the hat. So let's do that first before we move on to the face. So what I'm going to do is a series of V cuts to provide some shape to that ball. One right there on the top. Let's do it again on the bottom here. Come in, find the right angle. It can be difficult sometimes. So I'm going to come in right up in here. See that well? There we go. To get those angles in. And I can also come in at an angle going into the side. Okay, see this flat plane here? I'm coming in on that flat plane, and then I'm pivoting a 1/4 degree of a turn here. I'm going to come in right here and just try to bring that straight down. And I'm going to do the same thing from the straight in direction. Okay, so on that corner plane, I'm going to come straight in with the knife, and I'm just going to meet up right there along that in the middle. Chip that out. That'll start to give me a straight line there. Now I can curve that in by taking off those corners at the top, taking off that corner at the bottom, and then the next corner, a little bit at a time. That rounded it off significantly, right? Now I can round it a bit more, take off all the hard lines I can find. Sometimes little fuzzies don't want to come off, and having a good stiff bristle brush to brush the carving with can really help with that. So I like having that. Now with this little line here, you could use a V tool to cut that depth in if you want to. So you could take a V tool, come in from this angle here, and come right down to the hat band. That's one way of doing it. I don't necessarily like that for this one. I'm going to try to do it with a knife. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a V channel. I'm going to try to curve this V channel, which is easier to do with the V tool. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to come right at the top of this line, and I'm going to keep it like a 45-degree angle in. So I'm coming out as I go in, right? I'm just going to come and curve it down to the hat right there. And I'm going to do the same thing from the other direction and try to meet in the middle of that V and come right down. And notice it meets at a point up here, and it doesn't down here. So it's a wider aperture down here, wider opening. Now cut that back end out, and it should chip right out, which gives us that little line like so. Now that corner on the top it is too sharp. So we're just going to round that off a bit. And just bring that down like so. Now I'm going to deepen this V tool on this V line right there. And that is looking absolutely fantastic, I think. I think it's looking fantastic. Okay, so something else you can do to add a little depth to the character, add a little depth to the hat band and whatnot, is this. If you V-cut the back edge right here of this hat band, it puts a little bit more, not shadow, a little more light behind it, right? Which I think is neat. I think it looks good, and it gives it more depth. Like you can see how round. Do you see the change? It's hard to tell, I guess. But I think it's a good change. It just opens it up a bit more, having those back here opened up. So something you can do if you want to. You don't have to. Now, the front of the face, we've barely got any roundness here. I'm going to go ahead and start to round this face a bit more. I don't want any hard lines here. And as I do this, I'm going to turn it around to make sure I'm doing it round, not splitting the wood. I don't want to have any splits here because I don't want to lose a lot of wood. Rounding that corner, just taking off a little bit at a time, figuring out where I want to have that. Rounding off that chin. Okay, take a look. That's how I've rounded it right there, okay? It's not too rounded off, but just a little bit. To where I'm not going to be hitting any hard corners. I'm trying to draw the face that we're going to do on him. Now, the mouth. When you see a Grinch style mouth, right? It's flowing and it's smooth. And you can look at the overlay that I've got over here, right? The overlay that you see, this is the actual carving that we're making right now. So that's fantastic. I love those, right? But I don't have that carving. I can't see the overlay. So I'm going to prop on up over there in the corner here and look at that while I'm doing this. So we're going to carve from here over to the middle and down a bit, okay? Now to mirror this, I'm going to flip it upside down, okay? We got one line that'll come up, nose, and then this line will come over and up. And that looks pretty mirrored. That's doing pretty well. Now we're going to put some big smile lines in on either side of the face, right like so, okay? He's going to get a nose, right like so. And then we're going to do some eyes. And we're going to have them slanted downwards. So he's going to have going up. Okay, like so. And same thing over here. Same angle, I think. Ooh. And then like so. And if one side is bigger than the other, just erase it and redo it if you want to. Although it can add character to have one eye be bigger than the other one. So it doesn't matter too much if one is a little bit larger or not. Right, I think this one's a little bit larger, but I kind of like that look, so I'm going to go with it, okay? So, doing the mouth could be done with a V-tool or a knife. I'm going to do it with a knife, but if you wanted to, a V-tool would make it pretty easy on you because it's easy to follow those smooth lines through here. So a V-tool is absolutely something you can do this with. I kind of like when it comes to flowing lines like this, doing it with a knife. So I'm going to do a V channel. So it'll be a 45-degree angle with a knife, not straight in, like so, right? I'm going to do that and follow this curve of the mouth all the way, and then I'm going to come in the opposite direction and do the same thing over again. So this is not going that deep. Adjust the carving as I need to. And I'm not putting too much pressure here. I'm not pulling hard. I'm not pulling fast. Nice and slow. No reason to rush this. Okay? This is like the part of your carving that brings it to life. So take your time. There's no reason to get fast. And again, it's the same angle, just the opposite direction, the opposite side. The wider I make that mouth to, give it a little bit more depth to it, or a little bit less. Depends on what you want. What are you going for? So that's where we're at, right? We got that started. Now, for that smile line, it's basically a U shape here on this side of the mouth. And then I'm just going to carve up into it, like so. And then I'm going to round that edge out. Just a little bit. Like that. And that line there is not as deep as I want it to be. There we go. Okay. Now the smile for the other side. Again, 45-degree angle. Nice and smooth. Smooth is fast. All the way up that line. I'm going to do that little half moon shape right now because I'm here. And I come up here in 45-degree angle from the other direction. Rotating the carving as needed. And there we go. Okay, that smile is in. Smile line on this side here as well. And then rounding that edge off. Like so. So there is a nice Grinchy smile, right? Pretty simple, pretty easy, nothing hard. Now, you can use for the top of this nose a gouge. Let me show you what I mean there, right? These are the tools that I made recently, and they are fantastic. Not the V tool, it's this one. There it is. So this is the number 8 that I made, right? And this is a DIY tool. It costs $5 the tool, which is why I like to show people how to use it too, now that I've got it. So for that nose, you can absolutely do that with a knife. Just a U shape, right? Just carve it up and then carve down to it. But rather than do it that way, what I mean is like this. You can carve that line in and then carve down to it. You want that nose to poke out a little bit. And you can see on the overlay right here what I'm talking about. But to make that line perfect, you can use this gouge because that shape there is the exact shape we're going for. So starting right here beneath it a little bit, okay? I'm going to start beneath it and I'm going to push up and turn in as I go in, bringing it up and in, okay? So I'm going like this, up and in, okay? To round the top of the nose and push in, and then I rock it a little bit at the top, okay? And that puts the shape of the nose in. So you can use this gouge like that. Now you can easily do it with the knife. But I just wanted to show you an option you have. Because when I'm normally carving, I'm not doing knife only. I'm using tools like that all the time in different ways. I saw Wayne Larimore, a carver with the Carriage Carvers of America, use his gouge in that manner for a cheek and for an eyebrow. And it just amazed me when I saw it because I had never thought to use my tool in that manner. And after that, I see opportunities to use my tool like that so often. And so I want to share those kind of things when I see them because they're useful. Okay, so we got the top edge of that nose in, and I did a stop cuts down to it. Now for the bottom of the nose, we're just going to do a straight cut right here, okay? Rocking that knife in a little bit, and then carve right up to it. Nothing complicated. Take a little excess off the side of the nose. There we go. Okay, so there's our little nose for this guy. Now this is not a complicated carving, and you're probably seeing that more and more now. You're like, oh, this would be pretty simple. It is, but the key with getting the Grinch right is that mouth, nose, and eyes, okay? Because if you don't get these lines and the proportions right, he doesn't look like a Grinch. But if you do get it right, he looks so good, it is just fantastic. So this line going down the center of the face, this is very important too. We're going to come in at a 45-degree angle to the right, straight down, okay? And then same thing from the other side. Right down to the nose. And then try to chip that out. And that's that Grinchy line. There we go. Now, we're going to trace in our eyes. And this is going to be straight cutting in to trace those lines out, okay? That's all we're doing, coming straight in with the tip of the knife, not very deep at all. You can go deep if you want to, but it's not going to matter because we're not pulling a lot of wood out on this. We're just tracing out the lines in the eyes. Right up to there. Same thing on this side. Like so. Then we carve down and around. Like that. Now we're going to take out just a little bit here, okay? I'm not going to take out the middle, just in the edges right there at that stop cut. All the way around. Just a small amount. It's a little bit too deep there in that corner. Now if you notice, the middle is still the same height as the outside. I'm only taking out depth around the sides there, okay? And now I'm going to gently round off that hard edge, not taking much off there. If you feel like you can't do that without taking off much, then don't do it. Now that line comes past the eye right here, okay? So we're going to keep that past the eye and carve right up to it like this, okay? So the eye is going to stop here, but that brow is going to be a little bit higher like that. The eyelid, I should say. So that's what we're going for with that eye, okay? That line there and carving up to it. I'm going to round this edge off ever so slightly. And I'm going to repeat this whole process for the other eye. So we're just going to take out a little bit through there. And then curve that around up to there. And now we're going to carve right across the top. Like so. And then we're going to make sure we get that line going past there. And carve up to it. And then we're going to round that line off. And do the same thing for the bottom. As we come right along there. Okay. So now he's looking very Grinchy, right? Nothing complicated, nothing hard. But we still need some eyebrows. And the eyebrows are going to go at a swooping kind of style, okay? We're going to go up, down, and up. Kind of like a slow S kind of shape, right? Same thing over here. Up, down, and up. Right there, okay? Now you can do this with the knife, like I did. But just like the mouth, okay? Same thing. Same exact thing as the mouth, just up here. But I'm going to do this with the V-tool to show you how easy it is with the V-tool. But it's the exact same thing as the mouth. Like that right there, okay? Same thing to the other side here. And just bring it down. And then like so, right? And the beauty of a V-tool, if you don't know this, is that you can get a smaller V-tool, that's, smaller than this, that's shorter in the outer edges. But the V shape itself right here, that very corner, if you get a smaller one, you only get this much V-tool, right? You only get like the bottom half of it. If you get a bigger one, you get a deeper one. And this deeper one, I can do those small little V cuts or really deep, big V cuts, just the same with the same tool. So why do people get the small ones then? Because they don't fit into tight places and all those things, right? So I might get a tiny one that's a lot shorter in the outer edges, so I can get into tight places and do carvings like that. But if I don't need to get in tight places, these big ones are more versatile. I can get more carved and do more with them. So having a big V-tool is nice. So it's a number 15 file palm tool. It gets a lot of use in my house. All right, I think that we are about done with this little fella. I'm just going to curve these edges a little bit more. Take those hard lines out. Okay. Now that he's done, let's talk about options. So what can you do for options? Okay, so looking for options, because you don't want to have all of these be exactly the same, right? So you can put different expressions in their face, but you could also just put something in their mouth, right? We can carve this lip out a little bit and then put a cigar in there. So he's smoking a cigar. You could paint it as a candy cane, so he's sucking on a candy cane. And you can do different patterns to the hats and whatnot. So for carving, let's take a look at putting some different patterns to the top of the hat. Now, if you've got one of those V-tools we made, this is a number 6 U-gouge, or sorry, it's a number 8 U-gouge. You can use this or this number 11 that we have and just put little patterns to it. So I'm going to do small little chips in the hat band like this. I'm just going to put a little pattern. So you see what we're doing there? Just little small chips. If you've seen some of the figures I've done, like the warriors and the dwarf warrior, this is the same pattern I use to do chainmail. And you can do it on this hat to add like the fuzzy texture to the hat if you've got this tool. If you don't, it's not really an option to do it with a knife, but it's something you can do with a V-tool. And you don't have to do it with this number 11. You can do it with any one of the ones you got. I like the 11 because it's a little bit sharper of a U shape, right? So I can do smaller ones. But if I use this number 8, I'll do the same thing. I'm just doing bigger ones. The pattern's a little bit different, So whatever kind of pattern you like, you do. I like going from the bottom left, or to the bottom right to the top left, that pattern. But you don't have to. You can go the other direction. You can go straight up and down. You can go straight left and right. I feel like if you go straight left and right, it doesn't look as good as if you go at an angle and then just randomize it as best you can. Okay? Don't put them all right next to each other. Come back through there and get some on top of them, get some overlapping, get some coming in from slightly different angles. And you put a good pattern on there. Now afterwards, this gouge has tall sides. You have to put little cut marks on the top and the sides and whatnot. I may need to go back over there and fix. I can just come back here and fix that right back up. No fuss, no muss. And again, I want this to be a knife-only tutorial, but if you've got the other tools, I wanted to show you an option that you could do with that for this guy. So that's something you can do. But painting these guys white, like these two here, that's going to look just fine on those ones. That's just another option you can do. A little something you might want to try. There we go. Okay. Now let's say, for at least one of these, that I wanted to put a cigar in his mouth. Well, I'll take a little piece of dowel rod, okay? And this is, you can get this at a hobby store or wherever. And I am just going to take the inside corner of it and just carve it. I cut this already, right? And then the outside edge, I'm going to want it to be flatter to the end of a cigar or the end of a candy cane. You can paint it however you want to and make it either one. Okay, much flatter. There we go. Now for the mouth, we need the mouth to open up at a circle about the size of this big old candy cane or stogie, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to bring that lip down like so and up like so. And then we're going to drill it out with a drill gun. But we want to carve it out a little bit first, okay? So we do like so. And then if you've got a gouge, you can just come in here and curve around that. This is more advanced, of course. I know that. I just want to show you what an option is. And then we'll smooth out the top line. Smooth out that bottom. And that's going to fit in there like so. Okay, so you see what we've done is we put a little bit of an indentation above and below that, and now I'm going to drill that out. See if I can fit my drill gun in here. I'm going to reverse it first, so I'm going to reverse direction, and that allows me to create an indentation where I'm going to carve. Okay, by creating that indentation, it'll hold that drill bit in place a little bit easier. I'm going to drill in a little bit. I'm being really gentle. If you're not familiar with drill guns, don't do this by hand. Because I am familiar with them. I don't have a problem there. I feel like I can get that done. Now, a drill gun is going to mess up those outer edges a little bit. So you're going to need to go back in there and carve that to fix it. They're not precision tools, drill guns. You follow? Okay, now for the back edge of this stogie, to make it fit in that hole, I'm going to carve this down a little bit. Just taking some little stuff off. Now, if you notice, this right here is the way I've told you before not to whittle. On something tiny like this, controlled like that, is just fine. But when you're doing most of the stuff, that's not the way you want it to go. And there we go. Looking pretty good. So we want to make that look a little bit better, right? That mouth doesn't look like it's opening up to him yet, does it? So let's do that a little bit better. Let's V-notch in here and V-notch in this side. V-notching on each side. Looks a little bit better. Yeah, it looks a little bit better. Let's clean this edge up right here. And there we go. Now that looks like more like it's coming out of his mouth. Let's deepen in the mouth right here. Let's deepen that mouth line a bit. And it comes in there. The same thing in the back side here. We're going to deepen that mouth line in because the mouth can't close immediately around a cigar. It's got to be open a little bit, you know, to fit that. And a cigar in the lips. Now that's looking pretty good, isn't it? Looks like he knows what he's doing with his candy cane. And you don't have to have it that long. Oh, you can cut this down and have it just yay long. We might do that. Let's cut that down. Let's make that a little bit shorter. So I'm going to take these regular snips. And this is all I use these snips for, is cutting wood dowel rods, okay? You got to make sure you got hand strength to do it because it's going to want to snap and go flying. Like so. And then I'm just going to clean up this outside edge. There we go. That gives him, yeah, a short, stubby stogie. I like that. Okay. And folks, that is, that's where we're at. All right, before we go away, there's something I forgot to show you how to do, and that is adding in little tufts of fur on the outside edge. So all I'm going to do is do a V-cut like so, okay? So straight in on the side, and then coming up to that, focus, there we go, up to that outer edge. So straight in, and then carving up to little notches basically on the outer edge of the carving. And then I do it again, but angled. So first I'm coming straight in, and then I bring it in and angle it in more. Let me do this same thing on the other side here. Okay, get a better view where you can see it really clearly. I'm going to go straight in, and then come up to it. To deepen it, I'm going to come in at an angle now. Again, straight in, and carving up to it. That angles it in. So there's two planes. You can see that, two planes, that V cut. Okay, one straight in, and coming up to it. Then one more shear angle. Again, to add some depth to that. Okay, let's do one more right there. So we have three total. One, and again at a more shear angle. Two, that gives them that little look on the edges, and that will finish him up. You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch. You really are a heel. You're a bad banana with a dirty black peel. Thank you guys so much for sticking around at the end. I really appreciate it. Listen, if you want to help support the channel, you can head over to Etsy and you can buy some of these stickers. I've got several wood carving stickers available. This is the very originally named. This is my carving sticker. Wood Carvings by Johnny. Do you even carve, bro? I make wood chips and the fan favorite, Strop Yet. But don't do that if you don't feel like it, all right? Other than that, head over to Instagram, give me a like and a follow over there. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out and I would really appreciate it. And outside of that, watch one of these other videos that are popping up on the screen. And you guys have a great weekend. Bye.